Hey everybody, so it was around this time last year that I made a video called Getting Into Photography, which taught you how to get the basics of photography down and learn without buying a huge expensive camera. And it quickly became one of my most popular videos, and if that's what you're looking for right now, make sure you check it out in the link that's in the cards and also in the description below. But nearly a year on, I am ready to take things up a notch, and so I am bringing today to you 5 tips on how to get even deeper into photography. In that beginner's video, I recommended that you buy yourself a nice beginner's camera with a kit lens, and that is still good advice today. Kit lenses in particular are cheap, they cover a standard focal range, and they're very easy to learn from. But every photographer goes through that period where they decide they need to move on. And so tip number 1 is all about picking your next lens. So there are 2 great options. You can either buy an inexpensive prime, which is a great value for money buy as far as I'm concerned, or you can replace your kit lens with a new standard zoom, which will usually have better build quality and a faster constant aperture. Canon's 50mm f1.8 is a good example of an inexpensive prime lens. It comes in at under $180 and it's a standard focal length that works great in low light. Your other option is something like a Tamron 17-50 f2.8, which while more expensive at $450, makes up for it by being a great kit lens replacement. It covers most of the same focal range with a faster constant aperture that makes for great low light shooting throughout your zoom range. Whichever way you go, a good new lens used right will work wonders for you. Once you've picked up a new lens, it's time for tip number 2, which is all about changing the way you capture photos. And we're going to go into your camera settings, head to the image quality section, and flick that over from whatever it was to RAW mode. And why are you going to flick it over to RAW mode? Because RAW image files have vastly more information than JPEGs, which means they're much better for editing with. But editing is something we're going to get to later. Tip number 3, now that you're shooting in RAW mode, is to take different kinds of pictures and try new styles of photography. It's the kind of thinking that went into the One Camera One Lens challenge, which you can find in the cards or in the description below, and it's well worth it. Take your camera somewhere new. Shoot landscapes if you're used to portraits, or shoot street photography if you're used to landscapes. Borrow or rent a wide-angle lens or a telephoto lens. Try them out and see if they work for you. It's great, you're going to learn new skills, and you might even discover a new aspect of your photography passion that you want to pursue heavily. And now that you've got all those photos, it's time to work on tip number 4, which is diving deep into the editing process. And whether you're using Adobe Lightroom or Apple Photos, there is a lot of things that you can do with your photos to take them from good to great. Using something like Camera Raw or DxO Optics Pro if you're using Apple Photos is going to allow you to do things like correct for lens distortion, meaning you're going to end up with a more true to life image. It's also going to allow you to toy around with white balance after the fact, and you'll even be able to do things like smooth out noise from super grainy images. And once you finish with the basics, you can also toy around with your image's exposure, the highlights and shadows, contrast, shifting your black point, toying around with saturation, and even trying new image styles like seeing what your photos look like in black and white. And once you've gotten your images looking exactly how you want to, tip number 5, and one that I wholeheartedly recommend, is to take your favorites and get them printed. Because there is something about seeing photos in prints the way they were once upon a time perhaps meant to be seen that just makes you feel so much better and so much more passionately about your craft. It is so inspiring to see the final results on paper, and the results can be stunning. Like for instance this A3 print I was actually able to get done for free during Vivid Sydney. So, getting a new lens, shooting in RAW, shooting differently, editing better, and getting prints. Those are 5 things that you can do right now to take your photography to the next level, and I hope you found those tips useful. If you did, or if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave it a thumbs up down below and leave me a comment letting me know what you thought and what you'd like to see me cover in future photography videos. But that's it from me for now, so I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you found it useful, I hope you're having a wonderful day/evening, and I hope to see you all in the next video. But for now, goodbye internet.